This year, we've been through more prime ministers than James Corden's been through Krispy Kreme donuts. But I think this guy may be a keeper.
Talks about mandates, about votes, about elections. It's a bit rich coming from the person who tried to overturn the biggest democratic vote in our country's history. Our mandate is based on a manifesto that we were elected on to remind him an election that we won and they lost. A mandate that says we want a stronger NHS, better schools, safer streets, control of our borders and levelling up.
Boom! Sunak won, Starmer nil. Following a commanding and confident performance at Prime Minister's questions after just one day in the job, this man with a plan is nudging the Tories away from electoral oblivion. With not just a 6-point poll reversal, which I'll grant you is a drop in the ocean, but also with a shock new voter survey which reveals the public have Rishi Sunak ahead of Keir Starmer in terms of who would make the best Prime Minister. Now, Labour are still streets ahead, but old Sunak now has 2 years to audition for the big job. If he strengthens our borders, ends those boat crossings in the Channel, gets rid of the Northern Ireland Protocol, which divides our country down the Irish Sea, if he legislates against the woke, politically correct madness that's infiltrating schools, universities and other public institutions, and if he can tackle inflation and set Britain on a long-term sustainable path to recovery, if he can help the most vulnerable in our society through what's going to be a winter of discontent, and if he can police the streets and boost our defence, then Sunak won't just make ground on Labour, he will blitz them at the next election. Whatever your political colour, in the end, we all need this man to succeed. We're in a national economic emergency, facing a potential existential threat to our status as a pre-eminent global force. It's make or break, sink or swim, do or die. Well, Sunak has already started doing, sensibly delaying the budget statement until November, when spending commitments and rates of taxation can be predicated on more up-to-date and reliable data. But his presence has already been felt. He already cuts a figure as a steady hand at the tiller, and the financial markets would appear to agree. The pound has recovered handsomely, and the cost of government borrowing has fallen. And there's more good news to come, which is that inflation may have peaked and should come down in the months ahead, which means interest rates will likely not reach the cricket score figures we once feared. They too may well in time come down again. And with tumbling gas prices, that government commitment to subsidise everyone's heating bills will hopefully cost a fraction of what was once first feared. It's going to be a torrid year or two, absolutely. No one is denying that. But there's been a flavour of optimism since old Sunak arrived at number 10. A decent communicator and someone that looks like they're willing to grasp the nettle of the all-important issues facing this country. The Telegraph reports Sunak's going to fight political correctness by introducing laws that protect the status of biological women and female-only spaces and enforce the legal primacy of biology over gender. Praise the Lord. As well as clamping down on bonkers and inappropriate so-called sex education classes for youngsters. And his decision to reappoint Suella Braverman as Home Secretary, whilst politically expensive for him, is a price worth paying. Yes, she's leakier than a Leicester City fullback, but she's been serious about tackling illegal migration to this country, which is a humanitarian, economic and national security disaster. Sunak has shown courage by reinstalling her just 6 days after she was fired or quit, depending on who you speak to. Those figures in the media so keen to hound her out of office are the same people who are happy to see 1,000 individuals a day descend on our shores illegally, placing those with a genuine case for asylum at the back of the queue. Don't forget the Daily Mail reported that this summer 40% of those crossing the Channel were from Albania. This is a country that hasn't had military conflict for a quarter of a century. It's more peaceful than the Isle of Bloody Wight. It seems Rishi has a plan. As the Telegraph report, he seeks an ambitious new migrant deal with France. We'll hold him to it. He knows he will be judged on this in 2 years' time. So by bringing back Braverman, Sunak is clearly serious about tackling the migrant crossings. He's serious about tackling inflation. He's serious about tackling hard-left woke ideology. He's serious about the job at hand. He's a serious man for serious times, and he's annoying all the right people, including the Labour MP Nadia Whittome, who said his arrival at number 10 is not a win for Asian representation. Wow. This hot on the heels of Labour MP Rupa Huq, of course, saying that our talented and deeply underrated ex-Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng is only superficially black. Amazing. Is back to me, folks. Put me on TV. Can we please? This is live telly, folks. Some of you think it's pre-recorded. Let me please educate you about that one. So there you go. Kwasi Kwarteng, only superficially black. What are the implications of that sentence? Is Rishi Sunak only superficially Asian? You'll have to ask the Labour Party. Do they have a problem with people of colour having conservative views? Do they have a problem with a British Asian man being rich and making something of his life? You tell me. Meanwhile, in America... OK, Sam, you can give me Trevor Noah now. This is the television comedian Trevor Noah, who caused a storm in a rant about some perceived backlash against Sunak being Prime Minister of this country because of his background. Take a listen to this.
Watching the story of Rishi Sunak becoming England's first Prime Minister of colour, of Indian descent, of all of these things, and then seeing the backlash is one of the more telling... It's just one of the more telling things about how people view the role that they or their people have played in history. And what I mean by that is this. You hear a lot of the people saying, oh, they're taking over. You know, now...
OK, amazing. Who said Indians are taking over Britain? What is this supposed backlash? I read all the papers every day and I live on Twitter. Ask my kids. I must have missed this backlash. Now, there is racism in this country. It's the most evil stain on humanity, and there are bigots amongst us. But did you identify any racial element to criticism of Rishi Sunak this week? Well, this is the view of his colleague and another Conservative MP of colour. They're so diverse, these Tories. The brilliant Sajid Javid, who tweeted this about the so-called comedy sketch. Javid said, "This is simply wrong, a narrative catered to his audience at a cost of being completely detached from reality. Britain is the most successful multiracial democracy on earth, and I'm proud of this historic achievement." Saj, I'm with you all the way on that. In fact, I'll go further, because what Trevor Noah said was a flat lie. What backlash? This is the US progressive left doing what it does best, stirring division and inventing a toxic fairy tale for clicks. And note the fully masked audience made up of brainwashed zombies. Did California not get the memo that the pandemic's over? America has fallen. Now, Sunak is not perfect. Many see him as a globalist puppet, pushing for digital currencies and a technocratic dystopia. He's got more baggage than the Kardashians on holiday. The billionaire wife, the green card affair, and the non-dom status. But frankly, I couldn't care less how rich he is. Sunak could be the Sultan of Brunei, for all I care, as long as he fixes the economy, secures our borders, and gets us back on a path to recovery. And I do think it is quite a moment for the country that someone like this should become our Prime Minister. And when I say someone like this, I mean someone so short, in number 10. Take a look. He's tiny. Less than tall men everywhere are rejoicing. So yes, this PM might be short, but he's got plenty of stature. He's a potential giant of British politics. And for those on the right still berating this pint-sized PM, remember it's a clear choice at the next election. Prime Minister Sunak or Prime Minister Starmer. Be careful what you wish for.